That should be like,
Hello, Culture Matters Podcast. Welcome to this episode of the Random House of the Junto. In 1727, Ben Franklin said, I'm going to get a bunch of like minded individuals together to talk about business, life, current events, and help each other succeed. Today, we have a random group, an assortment of wonderful, awesome culture people. Dr. David Yerkes, Aleck Arena, Jake Penny, and me, Jade. That's weird. All here talking about all of the above. But the first question that Dr. David Yerkes asked Aleck Arena was the importance of culture when he's looking at his investments. Was correct? That was the question?
Yes. So yeah, culture's definitely an interesting one. I've seen businesses that have, like, you replace a CEO and it kind of destroys the company culture, and the profit margin slips from like 11% to like 8%. Like, it's
Whoa.
like, and if your revenue is like a couple $100 million, that's a big difference. Like, it's very important. Obviously it offers stability, and doesn't show up in the numbers whatsoever. And sometimes it will show up in like the valuation of a company. So if a company's got a better culture, they'll be more highly priced on a cash flow basis or PE basis. And companies with a worse culture sometimes will be priced a lot cheaper. But yeah, that's how I think about it. Um, Obviously, you could try to play if culture was turning, and just like, maybe the company's cheap and you thought the culture was turning for various reasons. Maybe they've brought back a former CEO and co-founder that's succeeded before with the company culture and succeeded with the company. But yeah, it does factor into stock prices and valuations. And it also does, sometimes it's seen, sometimes it's not seen. Obviously, if you're doing the extra leg room, sorry, if you're doing the extra legwork to get out to the business, meet with management, see how the board and management treat each other at a board meeting, um, see how they treat shareholders, you probably are going to know a bit more about the company culture than your average institution, which is still sitting in their office. It hasn't gone out there. So yeah, that would be my answer to that. Very simple question.
are there any breadcrumbs that you can look at in the numbers? So breadcrumbs probably not the right word, but there's nothing that you can see when you're looking at an annual report that says maybe there's something off with the culture as far as patterns or anything that you can see that shows up? Or can they
Yeah.
just kind of cover that up probably until it
Uh,
completely goes. See, that's let me back up a little bit. What happens, I think, at least in some institutions, is you can cover it up for a while, you can cover up the culture for a while, and I've talked to Jay about this, there's like this buffer period.
yeah.
And then once that buffer runs out and the culture has become so bad that it starts affecting the outcomes, by then it's too late. And then it's almost, and by the time it's evident in the numbers, it's like it's way past
Yeah.
the time that the culture was bad.
Because all of your employees, which might be your IP, have run to the exit. They've run out the exit already. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a mass exit, of IP, which can really affect your company. But like, maybe if you've been watching a company for a really long time, maybe you could say the profit margins. But you'd still need to know a bit about the personalities behind the business. And then it wouldn't, maybe that you don't think the company's striving hard enough, but you have to kind of have a piece to. There's no pure crumbs where you can go and look at the numbers and go, unless some companies report their headcount, and unless their headcount's gone down really fast for no apparent reason and the business isn't dying, it's like if it's supposed to be a quality business, not like a textile company or something like that, and the headcount's just deteriorated materially, yeah, then that might be something. But yeah, no, it's usually much. You can't really find it in the numbers.
I got a question for Jake as it relates to like how important the relationship, how important tenants, because Jake's investing in that vertical of physical property. And so there are tenants that based on how I would think like their how they treat a property is going to affect its value, like the relationship a tenant has with a property. Jake, if you can elaborate or maybe expand a little bit of what you've seen over the years of the types of people that are easier, or you're more apt to benefit from those types of tenants or those types of behaviors, or what that relationship, the value of that relationship is.
So it's like a sticky subject, right? Because you have like fair housing laws, equal equality housing and whatnot. So you can't say one specific tenant. There's an ideal avatar, right? But it really comes back to what the property is like. A lot of people get into real estate and they think they just buy a property and they rent it out. It hasn't been updated in years. They put no money into the property and they think it's smooth sailing, cash flow for days. They're rich overnight. What we found out is that if the more luxurious, right? I mean, not luxurious, but modern, nice that the property is, the more they're going to treat it as a home, like as a resident instead of a tenant. So what we do is we have an awesome crew of like 40 some guys, and we're able to source products very cheaply that are high end, that you would see in like the main lines of wherever you are. We'll bring that to like starter home areas, sub $250,000 homes, where your medium rent is like anywhere between $1,500 to like $2,500. And we're able to do that on a budget, and we redo these properties. We fully gut them. So we got them down to the studs, all new mechanicals, roof, windows, custom kitchens, bathrooms, nice vinyl floors, marble countertops, all these high-end fixtures. And what we found is that they're used to an older product. They're used to a tired landlord, or a landlord that's a slumlord, or someone that they can see that they don't go over the top. They're only in it for the money. So by giving them these nicer houses, which the market does not call for whatsoever, but we're able to do it on an affordable, on a budget and with great quality, because like I said, we have great labor, and we know how to source the products and get these properties for anywhere between 30 to 50 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
Our all-in acquisition, between acquisition and renovation, is anywhere between 55 and like 65 cents, 67 cents on the dollar. So every single deal that we do, we have like a 40% cushion. So even if we wanted to go up and spend a little bit more money on the property, we have the ability to. But back to the tenants, is that they're used to a certain product, whether that's rundown housing, subpar housing, or just it's livable, right? There's a difference between livable condition and like feel good condition, right? You walk into your house and it's like, man, this makes me feel good. I'm a resident here. And changing that mindset of the tenant, from a tenant to a resident, really shift. And we did that through like a luxury product in a not so luxury area.
Wow.
And I mean, that's pretty much what we did, and it worked.
Have you seen that have a positive impact on retention of tenant, the retention?
Without a doubt. I mean, we're recognized in our housing authority, our economical redevelopment department. We have the nicest housing, that we've been told by officials, many residents, inspectors, everything like that. And people don't want to leave. It's really funny too, because when they come into one of our properties to view it for like a showing, they go totally ballistic. They call every Tom, Dick, and Harry, their aunt, their niece, their sister, their brother, whatever, video, FaceTime, and be like, look at this place. They go nuts. Oh my God, Mr. Jake, or whoever. you know, can we have this property? And it lights them up like a Christmas tree. And they tell their friends and they tell their friends, and we literally have a waiting list of properties for tenants, residents, before we even have properties finished. They're like, we want one of your houses. Awesome. Well, once that comes up in a couple weeks and it's done construction, we'll put you in there, no problem. So the retention, the audience, the exposure, it's like its own referral network that we've built without even asking for it. It's just the tenants speak about us, and you know, we have an unlimited pipeline of tenants. Like Liana was just telling me the other day, she's like, shit, we're running out of houses. You know, what our construction is catching up to us. She's like, you need to buy more houses. So luckily I have a great deal pipeline, and I got 2 under contract today, and I'm about to put a 5-unit portfolio under contract tomorrow. So luckily, you know, that all works out as well. And also it gives us peace of mind knowing that we've redone every single thing in the property. So the maintenance is fairly slim for the next 10 to 15 years, because we don't have to worry about the roof. We don't have to worry about electric, plumbing, the HVAC, everything's brand new. So it's like our maintenance and CapEx is super, super low, where the average real estate investor gets crushed with a bunch of different CapEx because they never put a dollar into it. It's all pre-1970 construction stuff. So of course it's at the end of its life. It's depreciated. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
What do you think, David?
Well, I bought my first rental property when I was, I think, 21, and I made a lot of mistakes. I made probably as many good decisions as Jake has made. I've made probably that many bad decisions in real estate. So, but I haven't given up yet. I've had to pivot a couple times, of course, had a few busy careers. So, I would love to get some knowledge from Jake sometime about some of the techniques he uses. But I think one of the things, I think, Jake, that you mentioned at the very end was, making it right and doing a good quality construction job. It reduces how much that speaks to my heart, because I hate doing things twice. I would hate to get in there and slap some paint on something and then have to keep getting called back and tear out walls and do all that stuff after you've got a tenant in there and all that stuff. Man, make it right and let it go.
And out of trial and error, we found like what we call like indestructible or like long lasting products. And anything that we could potentially get a call for from a landlord, a tenant, because we do our own property management too. We've sourced all that in-house as well. And it saves a ton of money because, I mean, anyway, yeah. So the products that we use are long shelf life, low maintenance, like everything.
Durable.
We only use LED light fixtures. We only use hardwired smoke detectors. We only use like 25 millimeter wear LVP plank. You know, it's just the things that we use. High efficiency, you know, faucets, high efficiency HVACs, things of that nature.
But that's expensive flooring.
I have a connection to where I get it for like half the cost that you get at Lowe's or Home Depot.
That's amazing. That's brilliant.
We're at Home Depot or Lowe's. It's selling for like $360 to like $450. I'm getting it for $2 a square foot. Same stuff.
That's unbelievable. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, that's kind of, especially flooring is one of the places you want to, without getting too into the weeds, Jay, on a culture podcast to talk about flooring. But I mean, that's one of the things I've always
it's the ground up.
I've always believed in, like building stuff, you know, and I do still have some rental property. I've slowly rehabbed some and gotten rid of some and that kind of thing, but I'm not anywhere close to your scale. I think I had 18 doors at one time. And I'm down to like, I don't know, 6 or whatever. Got a little bit of short-term rental stuff, but I'm 42. I'm turning 43 next month. So, it's been a little bit more of a longer game for me. there was one group of properties that took about 10 years of my life and from me.
Wow.
It was it's a long story, I'll tell you sometime, but yeah, there's it. I'm really excited. You guys have got it down to a science and you're doing it the right way. So that's, I think you're just gonna, I mean, you're just gonna keep going up exponentially, it sounds like.
Yeah, our goal is to double, if not double and a half every year. So next year, 2025, we'll want 200 to 250 properties. 2026, 500. Just based on our growth, because we started just fix and flipping for the longest time. We really didn't start building a portfolio until 2020. So everything before that was primarily just fix and flips, and some creative stuff. And then with like the economy, I was like, man, I don't know if flipping's going to be a thing anymore.
But you learned a lot. I bet you learned a lot about what you're doing now with your buy and hold, that you're basically flipping those to yourself.
Yep.
And now,
exactly.
Yeah.
So we're flipping them still, right? Quote unquote flipping them, but then we're holding them, right? And instead of making, the big, sexy, fat checks that you see on HGTV, we're getting that returned in equity plus tax-free proceeds from the refinance, and then cash flow for life, appreciation, debt pay down, a whole wealth of different types of profit centers. Because I just wanted to build passive income, right? I was like, man, if the market goes to shit and nobody's buying homes, or it's just a falling knife, I don't want to get caught in it. I was like, I got to start building a portfolio for generational wealth, and so I don't have to go get a day job, because I dropped out of college, so I couldn't go to work in finance or something like that. I could start a business, yeah, but real estate was option one and only. So yeah, made it work.
That's awesome, man. It's phenomenal.
Jay, can I just ask one question? Across your portfolio, what's your debt to equity ratio?
Debt to equity ratio is about 30%. So we have 30% equity to 70%, or more. So the average, to be honest, I don't know exactly, but I know it's more than 30%. Because when we go into deals, when we buy them, rehabbing, we're only like 55 to 65% all in. So we still have 45%, and then closing costs on the refinance, brings our deals to like 70%. And then with debt pay down, that's gradually growing every single month.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I gotta run. It's been awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Pleasure meeting you, Jake, and pleasure meeting you, David.
Great to meet you.
I'll speak to you guys soon. Thanks. Yeah.
Feel like we have lost a soldier on the battlefield of learning about business and life. In the closing, guys, on this first Junto pop-up gathering of the meeting of the minds, what would you say is one thing that the audience should, not take away, but also go and do? David?
Wow. What should they go and do? Take away from this pod? I think they should get in a mindset, in a long-term mindset, and get out of the short-term mindset. If you're in a short-term mindset, take a step back, look at both Jake and Aleck are doing things. They're looking at the long term, and it's yielding them amazing success, and it's only going to yield them infinitely more by not seeking that instant gratification and investing in the long term. So that's what I would say.
Jake, final word.
Man, people have to have a morning routine. I think, a strong, as I call it, the millionaire morning, is key to like a lot of things, and serve, selfishly serve yourself first in the day, because so many people live their lives where they're waking up out of bed, serving others right out the gate. And there's nothing wrong with that, but then they lose themselves. They forget who they are. And then, they never chase their dreams. They never accomplish much because they're always, serving others. So in the morning, serve yourself, have a morning ritual, educate yourself, fitness, everything like that, so that you can better serve others. Because you don't take care of yourself, can't take care of others.
You're listening to this episode of the Culture Matters podcast. I challenge you to go check out our one-on-one conversations. Myself, Jake Penny, Dr. David Yerkes, Aleck Arena. Share it, proselytize it, run naked in the streets talking about how great they are. Share it to friends. And we thank you for listening to this episode of the Culture Matters podcast and challenge you. Who do you know that you could introduce to somebody that could change their lives? Who do you know that you could help and serve? Who do you know that you could learn from? What mentors do you have? What mentees might you have that you don't recognize? Reach out to these people in your lives. Invite them on your podcast or start a podcast. Get on a podcast. Do something of value. And we will see you next time in the Culture Matters podcast. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.